Welcome all of you at the fourth edition of the Inclusive Juggling Symposium, which is a networking symposium to meet all of you from all around the world. And it's very important that this is a part of an Erasmus Plus project, which means that we got financed from the European Union educational budget. And I just suggest to all of you, because a beautiful financement, to get money for something what you love and what you can share with other people. So just apply for that, get the money, and invite us also when you have something happening. In this project, we are 4 partners. Kulturbrühne from Germany, Odskoczina Studio from Poland. Then we have, of course, the Hungarian Juggling Association from Hungary and Circo Tascabile from Florence, from Italy. The project itself, it gave a huge opportunity for the 4 partners to learn in functional juggling. So we could have 2 trainings in Germany and Poland in English, so that they could train facilitators of functional juggling. Then we have 2 conventions, one in Italy and one in Budapest. So that gave an opportunity for loads of people just to share time and have like 2 days together and play and practice and do whatever we wanted around functional juggling. Also, this symposium is a great part of the project. So we have 6 meetings where we have our guests, and then we have all these breakout rooms, what we really love, and it's just a platform for very free talks and share of ideas. So I would like to give the floor to Craig, who is our beloved MC of all the 6 symposiums. Craig Quat, please.
Thank you, Veronika. Yeah, so this is the 4th meeting. I'm here to introduce the presenters. We've been really lucky with this symposium because we got a lot of great presenters. Like, just to give an idea, it's been super international. The first week we had Mark Bieler from Germany, Circo Association from Barcelona, Spain. Then in week 2, we had Lapo Bulteri from Italy, Paola Avelis from Mexico. We've had, what other countries? New Zealand, Kate Rigo Van West. And this week we have Hungary and United Kingdom. So it's a really international community, and I feel so fortunate to know all of you and to have your support. For those of you who are here, I think it's going to be a good day. It's hard to say which of these, all the guests have been great. I'm particularly excited about this day because we have a prop developer here. There's not as many, you know, I'm one of the prop developers in this community. So I like to hang out with other prop developers, and Jamie Moore and Stiklings is one of them. I have one of his props here. He'll be presenting second. So I'll start off by introducing Veronika, who just kind of introduced herself a little bit. I met Veronika when 2017, 2018. I've lived in Budapest with her for 6 months, and Veronika is here today to talk really about her work that she's done in opening up clinical sectors, because I know that's been a big topic of conversation, a question that has come up in a lot of these meetings. How do we open these doors? Veronika has opened a lot of these doors in Budapest, and she uses her own style to do that. So that's what she's here to talk about today. Are you ready, Veronika?
Before myself, I would like to share with you guys a video which actually we made of the first convention, which I just told you it was a part of this project. So it happened in Budapest this last June, let's say, so 2022 June. And please welcome this video, what we are showing you now.
This is a very interesting moment for us because we have a worldwide community and it's the first time we actually gather people from a wide background, from nationalities together in one place. And the international community so far only moved together in digital spaces and with personal contact. And now it's the first time ever that all over Europe and beyond Europe, people gathering, meeting in person, physically, to share functional juggling with each other.
Functional juggling is a great method which allows anybody to experience what juggling is. So that's why it's a great method for therapy as well, and it can be used with success in rehabilitation or for therapists or in education. And I provided already in the last 3-4 years to more than 100 professionals basic training how to facilitate in functional juggling, which is actually an amazing thing because they are making more colorful their session and they can really create this environment of playing.
Why did I come out with this name? I suggest Craig to use this name in 2017. Craig comes from inclusive juggling, so he decided to switch the aim of this discipline from the technical skills to the capacities that we need to juggle. So we can say that functional juggling focuses his aim on developing capacities instead of developing juggling techniques.
Networking contains this word work, so we are actually having fun here during the convention, but we are also making work to connect, to build a community. And in this way we are not getting burned out, we can still exchange our experience, exchange our ideas and get inspired. That's the basic thing about this convention in Hungary, first convention of juggleboard and functional juggling, so we can expect that in some years this method will be more and more popular. We hope to meet you at the second functional juggling convention. Let's see, for sure this is really fruitful event for the whole community of jugglers and circus pedagogues.
Hello to all my friends in Budapest at the Functional Juggling Convention. I wish I was there with you and I hope you're having a really good time.
So thanks for watching this video. I find it like super important that because it was like a big moment for all of us, I think. And also I asked Ben, because it was a part of this convention, the digital conference organized by Craig as well. And many of you and the earlier presenters were digitally connected to the convention. So I think Ben can put in the chat a playlist, because we recorded all of these presentations. So you can have like all of these presentations and watched on YouTube. That's it. So you will have now like 6 or 8 hours more of material to look. So anyway, to start my presentation is that what I have to do now. I really made a lovely, now what should I do? Sorry, I just need to share my screen. I made for you a lovely presentation, which is, I think, is better than I usually do, but still it's not enough comparing what is the limit, the minimum limit today of making a presentation nicely. So, is it working, please? Yes. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. So I choose like a very like one topic on functional juggling, what I was working on, because and I give a little bit of the idea of what's happening in Hungary. And I did this because there is like so much material we did that I really wanted to keep like one track. And this is the fruit of my presentation what I did at the second functional juggling convention in Italy, because that was the moment when I understood that it's a very different approach how we do it in Hungary, the trainings, and this could give an idea maybe to some of you, because it's actually a good way to spread functional juggling in your country. So that's why I give the title like Choose Your Circle to this presentation, because the main idea is that we change the approach. And I understood actually in Italy that more likely the trainings what Craig provided and Lapo provided earlier, like before we started with Craig in Hungary in 2019, maybe most of the trainings were like focusing to the jugglers and were provided to the jugglers, or to jugglers who were a juggler and at the same time having some kind of diploma in other kind of health, social or educational sector. And in Hungary, we really changed and took a different direction, because for us that was easier. And that was to empower like the professionals. And when I say professionals, I think of the person who has a diploma in health, social and educational sector. So all the clinical people, psychologists, social workers, teachers, who actually can very easily integrate into their work. And we all know that it's a great tool for them if they start to use functional juggling. So the problem solved, I wrote because I understood in Italy when all these many jugglers who already took the training from Lapo, and they were asking me like, okay, but how can you enter to any institution to facilitate their students, to facilitate their clients? Why a hospital let you to work with their special need clients? So they had like lots of questions of why all these things is possible in Hungary. And the very easy answer, it was actually that, yeah, because we are providing a training exactly to them. And I think this is a solution for other problems as well, because a lot of time jugglers are facing the questions that they are not qualified therapists, they are not qualified in different areas, which is like a minimum to work in a school or in a hospital or in any kind of clinical environment, or most of the social environment as well. So even if they are very good facilitators and they can do and use very well the juggle board, or they invent like really great props, they are stopping at the door because they are not qualified, they don't have a diploma. And also most of the time people after the training, they don't have their group, so they have loads of knowledge, they have loads of tools in their hands, but they actually don't have a group with whom they can do this job. And we all know that when you do a training, the best thing if you start straight that night, or if you start the next day, but you don't go that far in time from the training, because then it's just getting like farther and it's harder to start later on. So, and all these clinical people, or these teachers, or these social workers I was providing the training, they actually had their own clients already, because that's what they are doing every day. So next day when they were going to their school, or they were going to their clients, they could really put in action. And also I realized that it gave us a huge reference to working with these institutions, because whenever I was working with a special needs school, they got like very committed with our method. So they opened the door. They were like so thankful that we are giving them this knowledge they can, with their colleagues in their institution, use the next day. And after that, since the door was already open, for us it was very easy to have a long list of references in which institution we were already using the method, and we already had like loads of successes because these people could use it already the next day. This is the wrong direction, and now it's not working. But now, so and why do we do this with all these people? It's because we all know like that this is a great tool, and another reason is because whenever they just get like the idea of the process formation of the primary composition, they can develop it further. So since they are professionals in their own areas, they are able to further develop the material they got from us. So that gives a very huge multiplier effect, because we just give them the idea, but they convert it and they already use it on the way on that language, which is really their own special area. And also because they are so thankful for the creativity and the innovative tool they get from us. And on this point, I don't know how is in your country, but in Hungary, all these areas, they really need the creative approaches, and they are always find that these colorful tools, and Circus itself is a very complex method, so they find it really useful and very colorful, very playful, and which seems to be actually a lack on their area where they are working and in the methods they are using. But this is also creates a problem, because my experience that they are so much following most of the time like different protocols and rules, that the first thing I really need to train with them is like how to think out of the box. So like lots of creativity exercises, lots of discovering and lots of variations is something I need to feed them. And this kind of like playful approach of Circus, and to believe that everything is possible, and whenever you have an idea, just go ahead and try it, and not to get blocked of any of the ideas or thoughts you could have, like, oh, maybe it's not possible. No, just go ahead and do it. So like the base of all this work, it was why we could start to have these teacher trainings. It's because we already had a teacher training before. So in 2014, we started to have the first teacher trainings, not in functional juggling, but in social circus, because that was the moment in Hungary when we already was working for about 2 years, like really intensively, and people heard of our work. So lots of institution organization came to us like, oh, could you please come and do social circus for us? And also they wanted to have like, as you know, just a free job from us, which actually we were not enough people to provide it. So that the answer for that, it was that, okay, we don't have enough people to go to work with your own group, but why don't you come to our training So why don't you send your employee in your social organization or in your school, and then we provide a training. They can learn these tools, they can learn basics of juggling, and then they can integrate it into their work. So we already had from 2014 a social circus introduction training where we had more than 150, so around like 150, 200 participants who made that training in about 5 years. Because in 2019, that was the first functional juggling facilitator training, what we did in Hungary. So in the previous 5 years, we already had like nearly 200 participants. So we had the experience how to provide a teacher training. We understood what is the protocol, how we can reach them. We already had a database of many civil organizations, many schools, a database of nearly 600 600 addresses, which is very important because whenever you want to reach and have this multiplier effect, you really need to have a database and invite loads of people. So we already had a database, and whenever we started to provide the first functional juggling training in Hungary, we could send out easily an email on a database of 600 addresses. So it got full about in 2 days, the first training Craig was providing in Hungary. And we also had a group of qualified instructors, which means that we were jugglers, but at the same time, we had people with qualification in occupational therapy. We had another fellow who had in social work a diploma. We had also people who was a psychologist. So we had different people with qualifications. So we could say that all this training is happening with qualified instructors. And then we got to know Craig. And we could fill in that lack which was there, because we still needed a curriculum, because we all know that social circus training is very different what we do in functional juggling training. And we actually had to find a way how to get a curriculum which is accessible for a low functioning population. So all that juggling tools and juggling exercises we were teaching before, it is not a good exercise for low functioning. It's a good for social inclusion, but it's definitely not for special need people. So we had to gather, and the first meeting, we had an international meeting in 2013, and when from 7 countries we gathered and started to collect that with which skill, what is possible to do in a special need environment. But still there was this lack to fill in. And that was what was filled in with functional juggling itself. Also, we needed to be trained, and Lily, my colleague, and myself was trained by Craig how to guide and how to facilitate, and then how to guide the training. And also we needed practice, because you all know you get a training, but then of course you need like I think functional juggling, at least you need like 200-300 hours of training with clients. When Craig was looking at me, but like I think like I would say a minimum of 100 of hours, but like really feel and get an idea and get this like tactile information and really understand that, oh, okay, now I feel what is the response and how I was reacting to that. I think it's around like 200 hours. That's my feeling, but maybe I'm too slow. Usually I'm too slow, so you could be much better than me, guys. And also we needed equipment, many tools. So obviously we ordered loads of juggle boards from Play, and also scarves and extra things, and obviously now, after most of you know Eduardo and the props last time, Lapo, and the time before Francesco was talking about, we also could order now in the future these equipments. And then Craig came, so he was like the person to fill in really this lack. So we had like with him a first training and then a second training, and then in the meantime I was assisting him, so that was like a good opportunity to take step by step over and be able to become a trainer myself. So now I just would like to give you like some examples of what are these people are doing. For example, there is Emese. She's working both high functional and special need elementary school and informal education. So she's a teacher. And I would like to give some ideas how they are using it. So she's actually was reporting that she is using all these props just freely to discover by the kids. She's using mainly the primary composition itself on juggle board, facilitating one-to-one. And she's favorite is to use like tissue and balls for juggling and experience the cascade itself. Then we have like a nursery school or a primary school. And it's interesting that they could like really identify that they use for diagnosis mainly the juggle board, which is a great tool for them. So whenever they want to diagnose, they find the juggle board itself as a great tool for that. So they could see like difficulties with the executional system and voluntary actions, difficulty with attention, difficulties of seriality, and difficulties with social connection and adequate behavior. They actually could say that in one case, it was very interesting that it was the juggle board itself, the prop, when they understood that the problem of that specific kid is that is not able to follow with the eye attention the movement of the prop. So that was like the main problem. And after diagnosing this, they could like really find solutions for that. And they can use also for developing the blocking functions, the capacity for delaying and waiting, seriality, executional functions like planning, organization, implementation, to develop rhythm, harmonize movement and speech, develop attention and remembrance. And also with physical disability itself, they use it to develop the use of hand and its functions, generate dorsal reflections, generate and practice alternating hands, and separate the use of different parts of the arm and change force, like how they are rolling the balls. And they were reporting also that kids just love and play by themselves. So they leave them really free just to play with the juggle board and find out how they want to play with it. And then there is Agi. She's like a huge fan of juggle board and a real enthusiast. She's using it in elementary school, and she's actually not very good in facilitating herself, but she loves juggle boards, so she just throw it in the crowd to the kids and let them play with it and discover by themselves. And then there is Lily. She was also trained by Craig, and she was mainly giving like 3 main points, what she find important, let's say as an advice, that juggle board is not the beginning. So in many cases, you actually need to find another prop which is even easier or even more preparative when you are working with a low functioning population. And of course, you can use juggling itself. So like juggling with scarves or juggling with devil stick, they are using in special needs school. Actually, she find easier to work with scarves than with juggle board. That's her experience. And she says that it can be anyway at the end of the day, whatever props you want to use, just use the one you can control the best and be creative with it. And that's the main thing she's concentrating on. So yeah, that was my small presentation on what's happening in Hungary with some examples, and thank you for your attention and mainly for your love. This is my contact, and we can talk more in the breakout rooms if you want.
Wow, thank you, Veronika. That was great. I made some notes to do some follow-ups on some of the points you made. So recognizing the value of what Circus has to offer to clinical groups, I think is something that Veronika's exposed a lot of. And I think a lot of times our expectation as Circus people of what we need to provide is actually a lot higher than what these audiences are looking for. Like in Circus, we were so used to doing the impossible when we partner with clinical groups. It's often just our creativity and our playfulness that is the most value to them. Because it's not their background, it's not how they approach problem solving, and it is how we approach problem solving in Circus. So understanding just that simple value that we have is really important. I think Veronika has proven that the interest from the market is already there. It's more about packaging it and developing the language. And Veronika has really developed this language. She understands how to code switch her material to put it into terms like what we call in Circus something casual, they'll give a fancy name to. And if you know that name, that word, it can really open the door for you, because, you know, we have to take the responsibility to put it into their context. As Circus people, it's our job to do that for them. I also like that she talked about how the functional juggling is sort of a component of her whole process, her whole approach. It's very helpful because of its formality to get these doors opened and really show the clinical people that we are at their level with the materials we're presenting, but it's not the only factor. And, you know, we should be trying to bring all of Circus with us. Thank you. It is a discipline for facilitation that does require skill and training, and not everyone has the same facilitation level. Not everyone needs to. The partners that Veronika has, the people that I trained there as well, like she's seen, they go their own directions. I really like to see that update about Lily. It's nice that she's still working. Partnership is key. Language and goals are important. Yeah, so that was it. I think based off a lot of the question and feedbacks that we're getting from this symposium, I think it's going to help us to organize our future events. And for sure, I think one of the next things we need to focus on is just this whole conversation about opening up doors, translating our language, because that's important. That's the first step, learning how to, knowing what they want and knowing how to translate what we have. So if you're interested in those things, you can hang out with Veronika today. Also, you can jump between the breakout rooms because both presenters are wonderful. So if you have questions for either groups, it's not a problem to switch. And now we are moving on to, so thank you, Veronika. And now we're going to move on to Jamie Moore and Gina Bazinga from Stiklings in the UK, who I'm actually going to be living with in a couple months. Yeah. really looking forward to that. I don't know if I need to so much. I'll give a basic introduction here. These guys are producers or product designers. Jamie and Gina got into 3D printing, and with this technology, they're able to very quickly, you know, create solutions, test out, trial and error, and that has allowed them to really fine tune, I think, and raise the precision of the design, like faster and more diversely than we can with some of the traditional technology like CNC machines. So if you're someone who's interested in prop development or you have your own ideas, also Jamie loves to collaborate and just likes a challenge. So he might be someone that can help you with some things. But I'll let them introduce themselves now.
Great.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
I'm Gina.
This is my wife.
Oh.
I love her to bits. Okay. She's amazing. I come up with ideas and she makes them happen.
Yeah, it's a good team.
It's a really fine team. It's wonderful.
Yeah, but other than prop making as well, we are both circus artists and we are both social circus people. So we've been in circus and social circus for over 14 years. And we also manage Performers Without Borders as well. So we take our work internationally across the world and work with everybody. So SEN and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'd just start with a little bit of a few proprioception exercises,
That's nice.
just to wake up our brains a little bit. This is also how we start our classes. So firstly, can everybody show me their peace fingers?
Ding.
And their smile.
You need 2 hands.
All right. And don't just look at me. Look at your own hands. Try and swap those around. Very good, folks.
Well done, Craig. You've done that before.
Craig's practiced this with us. There we are. So this is really nice. This is a really solid start. Now we can start easier with this. We can start with the thumb and a little finger and just swap the thumb and the little finger around. But because you're all so well versed in your proprioception and your physical literacy, I'm going to give you a real challenge. Now, I won't be able to see you all do this, but with your right hand, start tracing the number 6. And now with your right foot, I'd like you to draw a clockwise circle without changing the direction of your foot. So you're going to do both at the same time. Don't let your feet change direction.
That's impossible.
I'm seeing lots of laughter at people realizing that their bodies don't work how we expect them to. Yes. Oh, it's a painful thing. So that's the right foot doing a clockwise circle. Bugger. And then
So you can apply this to everything. So we do triangles and squares at the same time, or circles, and then use both feet. But they're all proprioception exercises.
They are. And so the reason we often start our classes with these, and we often start our classes with these and get them wrong publicly, we believe it's really important to fail in front of our students as teachers when we are teaching things that are very difficult. It's we never open our classes with a show. We never walk in there and juggle 7 balls and then say, let's learn to juggle.
No.
I go in there and I drop 7 balls on my head and then say, let's try and do this together. You know, let's get there, because we don't want to set people up to fail. So I gave you those little bits of proprioception exercises. And what we would normally do throughout our classes is whenever we're doing a changeover between exercises which requires a change of equipment, we will revisit these while one of the other 2 hands out equipment and things like that. Yeah. And then what you see by the end of the session is that you see a very, very, very clear progression in practice of what was first impossible towards getting there. I just threw that in because I really enjoy doing it, and I thought
it teaches our kids kind of perseverance and things like that as well. And you know, we always open with, you might do some stuff today that's going to be really, really difficult, and if you give up straight away, you're not going to be able to get it. So it's one of those things we like to bring them back to, so that they can learn their perseverance and eventually get the tricks.
Next thing I'd like to share with you all is this cup. I mean, we can all have this cup, but this is a plastic cup, and we use ping pong balls. And we can honestly deliver an hour's worth of circus content using ping pong balls and cups.
It's so much fun.
And you don't ever let the attention drop. It's a very quick challenge number 1, challenge number 2, 20 seconds later. But you can start very, very basic. You can start with just turning the cup, having the ball move around inside.
We have done this for all levels as well. So even just when they're in there making the noises, so for your SEN classes, getting the noises, getting the feedback, all the way up to trying to do kendama tricks with them, which is very difficult.
There was still water left in that cup, and it is now all over Gina. She did that.
Yeah.
But the point being with this is that you can introduce a lot of different concepts of object manipulation through a cup and a ball. Now, the reason I think this is really important to show off early in a workshop is because a lot of people have preconditioned images in their head about what circus or what functional juggling or what anything is for people of all ages. But this is the single most intergenerational thing that we've found. When we do a lot of work with
when we do public events, you'll often find that parents or grandparents don't want to join in. They'll just be like, you go hula hoop. But actually, if we bring out cups and balls, they all start playing together and they all start challenging each other.
And then they stay together.
Yeah.
And they do the whole workshop, and then they're hula hooping with their kids, you know, and it's beautiful, but it's breaking that first boundary of getting over the what is circus sort of appeal. And
then you apply it to OT settings as well. So pouring with the ball.
Pouring water on me.
The water everywhere. Yeah, all of the different movements.
Yes, exactly. Get yourself some plastic cups. The we got these because we got some branded cups, just because the regular plastic like cups that people use for beer pong, they break quite easily. And we don't like waste.
Yeah.
So we got some harder plastic, but those work absolutely fine. And it's really cheap. It's a really good exercise, and it's only the limits of your imagination and creativity that you can add into there. And you can apply all of the functional juggling methodology and techniques that you can do with a juggling board, putting things in cups. I mean, Craig, you've done things like similar things before, you know, cups, water, all of these things. It can transition really well. So moving on from these, I just needed to share that with you because we do it every day now, and it just gets constant love. Prop design. We're going to go through this really quickly because we have a lot more. Oh dear. Bravo.
Reference.
Okay, this is one of the lanes of our 3D printed juggle boards. We're just showing you this very briefly. We love I've used the wooden juggle boards from Play
boards. Yeah,
they're exquisite, they're fantastic. My only issue was, at the time, I didn't have a van, and I was teaching a lot of students at the time, and I needed to carry, each one of those is about 7 kilograms.
You take 10 boards to a workshop by hand. It's kind of
you're carrying 70 kilograms around. I was like, there has to be an easier way. And also, just in the same way that not one thing fits all, one juggle board doesn't fit every size of table. So we made modular juggling boards that just clip together. So I've now broken this into half, and I can again break this into quarters that slots together very easily. So it's they clip in, they clip out. You can make them as long or as short as you want to fit on any table,
and as many lanes as you want as well.
And the lanes slot together. So I saw in what the video that Veronika posted, where you had multiple lanes put together
on one long table.
One long table, but you could essentially make that all put together in one thing that you could lift up together, and then use them as separate lanes. Anyway, these are recycled plastic water bottles. They print without waste, which is really important, and most importantly, they were designed around an 80mm play stage ball in 3-dimensional space. So all of the motion of the ball across the track is exactly as it should be. And the pocket, it just goes in. It just goes into the pocket and it just stays in there.
Very satisfying.
Oh, it's very satisfying.
Yes.
So we have two versions, one with little ears on at the end.
It's the camera. Like little bunny ears, yeah.
And one without. So we always suggest having a half and half, so that on your side, you can have the ears because participants can push too hard.
And sometimes the balls obviously pop out. So,
but as a facilitator, you can push the right amount. So it just works well. But there are so many ways of making juggle boards out there. We're very busy. You don't go out of your way to buy from us or anything like that, but they're here. They're available. Don't try and give us too much more work.
We also put our files up online for free. So if you do have access to a 3D printer, please help yourself and download them and make them yourselves.
Exactly. Next prop. This is a diddle stick. I know there are a few people that I can see here that have diddle sticks already. They're wonderful. Story is, we were teaching a child who could only move his fingers. So I said, okay, give me a week. I'm going to come back with a circus prop that you can do. He turned around and said, this is the first physical activity I can do. It's basically a tiny dragon staff. They've gone through many iterations, but they spin round. You can do things with them. You can learn tricks. It's a fidget toy as well as being a skill-based toy.
It shares a lot of ideas from pen spinning, but actually it's a lot easier and it's a lot more tactile for kids and anyone for you to use, really.
Yeah, we started using them in our workshops, but we've actually we've almost stopped
because the kids like them too much. So they refuse to put them down. So when we're like, okay, we're moving on to this activity next, they just like put them in their pockets or they hold them and then they'll like so they don't put them down. Yeah.
So it's good. So we do keep a box of these and we always have it with us. And we use these to include the people that are excluding themselves.
Yeah. It's a really good talking point for anyone who's walked off.
All right. Last product just to show you. We have a lot more, but this is the last one I'm going to show you. This is our tie wire trainer. It starts off as just a 5 centimeter tall block with a rounded top piece, a male and female connectivity together. So anyone who's scared of tight wires, anyone who's scared of heights.
Scared of heights, any toddlers and any OAPs, so any elder people or people with really bad ankle stability, and they're trying to work on ankle stability.
When you're on this, you put your foot on it, and by the time you're ready to fall off at the low grade, the side of your foot's already on the floor. You're not twisting your ankle. Which is it just takes a lot of risk out of everything. Plus, tight wires are what, 700-800 quid? One of these is £15. Do you know? And you can put them all together. So we made small ones. We then made sections that are curved. Enough curves makes a complete circle. So you can walk around in a circle. This also hits being able to actually achieve your balance a bit easier. A curved section means that you have more points of contact. So you feel like you're achieving the challenge a little bit better, and that will then drive you on further. And then we have tall sections, which are tall.
And then there's the gradients in between. So we haven't got another one of those to show you, but then there is step ups in between each level. So it makes like on the floor, it makes like a kind of Loch Ness monster dinosaur fun shape. Yeah, kids love it. And they put it together as well. It's really easy. It's Lego. You don't have to set up your own tight wires anymore.
You can leave these outside all year round and they're fine. We've actually started selling these to adventure playgrounds, which is really cool.
And dance schools as well. So a lot of ballet people have been picking up on them, which is really nice.
And again, all from recycled plastic. Right, let's move on from this because I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. People have seen these products before. You know the value of them. They're great. We've made it easier for facilitators, for students, and just in general for people to be able to afford to start accessing this sort of equipment. Now. And
we're always open to more ideas. So if there's anything in your circus that's particularly difficult for any participant, wherever it be, you know, maybe send us a message and we can brainstorm about how we can make something that works for everyone. Yeah,
it's a really good point. We probably shouldn't move on because of what you've just said.
Sorry.
Let's just here's an example. Cigar boxes, they were always one size, one shape. They were never made for kids. They were made for cigars. All right. So we've 3D printed them. We've made soft edges. We've taken away the fact that they were just a solid rectangle and given them hands. You can put your hands all the way through and you can grab, because this pinch grip is particularly hard when you're young. You don't have a lot of strength.
Which
to be
is
able
also
to do this.
measurable for people's health by their pinch grip.
Yeah, very, very true. So your pinch grip is a good indicator of your overall health in old age. It was Kate who taught me that when I was working as a research assistant. Go, Kate. We love Kate. All right, but that was cigar boxes. It's something nobody's tried to change in years, and it was such a simple change.
Yeah.
There's got to be more stuff out there that we can develop together. All right, next thing on there is we made walking globe stands. Basically, something that your walking globe won't roll away with. We don't have an actual circus space because we've chosen not to have one. I mean, we bought a house in which we've got a really beautiful space to do circus. There's a whole church. We can see a wheel in our house, but we don't want to be building managers. We're not about that. We want to be able to take our circus to people that wouldn't be able to access it otherwise. And so we're going to stick with that model.
Yeah.
Which means you have to have a walking globe in a van. When you drive around, a walking globe just does whatever the hell it wants in a van. So we built little stands. Those stands made out of a softer material, which is the same as these diddle sticks. So if we have a look here, you can see they squeeze, pop, and come back to shape. So we've got this soft material that we can use for that. We are developing juggling rings that don't hurt.
Softer juggling rings that don't hurt your hands when you catch them.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why does it have to hurt to juggle juggling rings?
That's why no one likes juggling rings.
I'm sure somebody does. It's all right. But yeah, we're making softer rings so that we can use those in our classes. You know, there's all sorts of things like that. We're also looking at developing, and this should be happening in the very near future. Essentially, we've had this idea for a long time, but the printer that we need doesn't exist yet. It's in its final stages of prototyping, and we're about to buy it. But we want to make roller bowlers for wheelchair users.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine a roller bowler is its typical cylinder. You know, it goes all the way around. Let's cut the cylinder in half. Let's put a wooden or metal plank on the top with rivets, not rivets, like indents for your divots. Divots, very good. Divots for your wheels so that you can manually wheel yourself on, and you can control where your center of balance is by movement of your body to be able to try and hit that roller bowler soon. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be good. So we're starting to look at things like that. And this is what we really want your input on. What can we invent? And why not? Let's build some stuff. Right. Okay. I need to move on because I get excited.
Yeah.
Very quickly, the projects that we have recently done and quickly done, I'm going to zoom through these. We've just delivered 3 of the first projects that I'm aware of teaching fire performing to blind people.
Of all ages. So from 11 to 98.
Yes. Nobody died.
Yeah, nobody set on fire. It was wonderful.
It was fantastic. There is a YouTube link to some videos.
Yeah, we did put it in the chat. But
perhaps our wonderful tech man.
They are a bit long, so I think one video is about 7 minutes. So
We're
maybe you can
watch
watch it in your own time.
There's a link.
Yeah.
Head to our YouTube, watch it there. And we are currently working on a very large SEN project. Now, this is really exciting. So we are working at one school over the course of a year. We have the school itself does its annual testing. So we have baseline tests that they repeat every year. We are doing the same tests before and after our intervention. And we've also developed occupational therapy and speech and language goals for individual students that we are testing before and after our project as well. This is exciting because we can backdate this against all previous years and compare those to all previous interventions. So it's not a clinical study, but it's a it will stand up on its own feet as something that is worth looking at data-wise, which is exciting.
Yeah, so we should have those results back in August next year, which will be really exciting, and we'll share that with the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off the back of that, we've done a single term with them, and they've already brought into our classes all of their board members, and they've celebrated the fact that, like, they've just said, just come in and watch. And the board members have been sat there saying, all of your students have been engaged for over an hour. They haven't stopped. They haven't taken a break. They've been learning for an hour straight. And these are students with very high needs. And people are just walking away, and they're just like,
yeah,
how can we have you here every day? Which is, it's so wonderful. But I think that's the power of Circus. And this is what's going to really lead me on to the next point. And this is our big discussion that I want to have with you today. I'll keep it short because it's a breakout room discussion, but I believe that this is something that we need. So I would like to create an online accessible activity database planner. So what this means is, first and fundamentally, I believe that education and access to education should be free for people around the world. So anyone should be able to go to a website, and they should be able to select from a list of accessibility requirements, a list of what part of content.
activities.
Like activities. So do you need a game? Do you need main content? Do you need, you know, what type of things that you want? But in regard, all coming off the base of what your accessibility requirements are. So maybe you have an arm. Maybe you have two, but one leg. Who knows? You carry on through the list. You select what you want, and you're able to then be presented with a list of activities that are suitable for the clientele. Now, this is where it gets really fun. I want there to be 3 versions of this. Firstly is the version the trainer sees. So somebody on any part of the world could go to this website, they could have a look, and they could say, oh, today I've got a blind person in my class, I need a game that works for them. They go to the website, they just say game. Somebody who has visual impairments, bam, it presents you with a list of games. Within that list, it tells you how to facilitate it. It shows you examples of who to have the games in action. It could show you, tell you who the author was, and it would tell you signed off by occupational therapists, what developmental capacities each activity is addressing and for how long. So the second version that we'd be able to present is, as a trainer, at the end of our session, let's say we go in, because I don't know about you guys, but often I go into a session and I haven't really planned very much because I don't know what the session's going to be like until I've met the students, until I know how many numbers there are going to be, until I know what I need to deal with that day, but I still have enough content that I've never felt out of pocket.
Yeah.
So
that's different for us because we don't have a space. So we're often going into new places with brand new people and having to deal with that on the fly, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, and we're never left without good quality stuff to do, because we've pretty much dealt with everything as it goes so far. But at the end of one of those sessions, if we knew what content we delivered, we would be able to, within 5 minutes at the end of the sessions, to say, we did this activity, this activity, this activity, and this activity, and email that to the person that hired us, and they would see a very different version. They wouldn't see the how we taught it. They would see how long we spent on each different developmental capacity signed off as being approved by an OT. So they are getting the language that they need for the people that are paying them for us to get our sessions. So they can turn around and say, look at this group have just given us 20 minutes on this, 20 minutes on this, 20 minutes on this. And you see how it breaks down.
So we're using their language.
We're using their language, and we're presenting it in a way that I'm pretty sure that no other educational people are, because it's too much work to write that down for every single activity. But if every facilitator out there proposes one very good activity plan, all of a sudden we have a lot of information that we can immediately share. So it's trying to just make it easier for people to get funding, for people to have circus, for facilitators to be able to accommodate everyone. And I believe that we can grow from there into using it to promote individuals. If you're able to contribute to this network of growing database, you'd be able to use your personal profile as some sort of CV, if you will. You'd be able to use this to say, hey, this is who I am in the community. This is the experience that I've got. This is what I've contributed to the world that it grows. This is why you should have me in your space.
Yeah. I think we'll leave the rest up for
debate,
for breakout room discussion.
Yeah, I think we're late
that
on
was
time.
a lot, right? That was a lot.
Yeah.
There's
a lot, and I think there's a lot more that you didn't share. Like you didn't talk about some of your other props. The infinity board, for example, is something they pioneered, which is basically a figure 8 shaped juggle board that teaches you to do the cascade pattern like instantly without any instruction. But you can do that in the breakout room. I think we should start the breakout rooms so we can get the conversations going. I'm not going to do a recap on Jamie because he talked about a lot of things.
I apologize.
And the things are pretty obvious. No, it's great. We loved it. I just want to get us into the group conversations now. So Bandagoose is going to open up. Oh, no, wait, actually, I got to remember the order. This is the moment where if anyone has any news or updates that they want to share, this would be a moment for anyone. Even if it's just like, hey, I taught my first inclusive juggling class. That's great. We want to hear it. Just let us know if you have any news or updates. And if there's not, we'll go to the breakout rooms.
I know
Veronika?
I talk a lot today, but yeah, Mariansi, please do it because I thought you don't.
I was about to send you a good night hug, so I'm just sending it now to our chat. But I also wanted to share that we have our friend that is fixing our stilts. So he does stilts with wood. That he's working out his first juggle board. Yay for us.
In Greece.
So, yeah, in Thessaloniki. I don't know if finally, I mean, I shared some of your videos and he also like got inspired, and I don't know if he's finally doing it with the tubes or with wood, but either way, he's onto it, and we are all like this, like, yay, waiting for the first juggle boards, like our own juggle board, to arrive. I'm gonna leave you guys. It's been great once again, and thanks a lot.
Piece of news for you that actually with Marianthi, we're gonna have a different webinar, which is about how you get a financement from the Erasmus Plus money. So whoever is interested in it, you can come on the 26th. And listen to that, and we're gonna have another webinar which is about like, do you teach more than just circus? And then you can decide about if you teach more than just circus or not. So that's it.
This is the smallest group we've had so far, but I think it's quality, not quantity. So let's go make some quality interactions.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay, so a summary of our breakout room. Yep, all right. At the start of the breakout room, I went for a very speedy cigarette. When I got back, We talked about 3D printing, what we would release, why we wouldn't release some things. The main thing was that we've made a very large personal investment that we still haven't recovered into being able to produce a lot of the products that we've made. Once we recover and break even on that, we will update all of the final things as being accessible and free. The ones that we're not going to release are the tight wires. The reason being is that they're a weight-bearing piece of equipment. If somebody else prints and sells them under our branding incorrectly, and they are unsafe to use and they cause an accident, it will be a problem. That's the summary of that. The one thing that I didn't share in our talk and that I'd really like to share with you now as a little bit of inspiration, we all love quantitative data. One of the projects that we are currently searching for funding for, but have the partner organizations for, is working with blind students. And we're going to take them before and after a course of circus arts instruction to a biomechanics lab using force plates and things like that to measure their gait and other forms of balance. So we can actually get quantitative data that is internationally recognized across other sports fields, because I mean, circus officially isn't a sport, according to Sports England. I'm fine with that. I don't like the idea of sports, but I do like the idea of doing physical things. I just don't like all of the flags and the cheering. You know, but I think it's very important data to receive. So we're going to be looking at trying to get more quantitative data in very specific fields. In this example, people's equilibristics improvements over a course of training. Now, if other people have other ideas and want to discuss ways that we can look into more specific areas like this, every single bit of data helps. Even if it's as odd as how well can I eat a crumpet after I've learned to balance a ball on my head. All of this kind of thing can be relatable in some way. By the way, for those who don't know, crumpets, they're delicious. Sorry, that's my summary. Does anyone want a crumpet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I'm looking forward to the biscuits when I get back. Veronika, do you want to give a summary as well?
Yes, so we had loads of fun in the room. It was like really a house party, and there was Piotr to talk about what's the situation in Poland and the problems they are facing with the opening doors. And I think this was like really a good how you kind of could talk about this topic, Craig. So this is like really a key sentence, is like if we are able to open the doors or not, and how. And then there was like Circo de Artistas, because they were talking like the other time, and I saw on their videos that they are working in bigger institutions with special needs. So I asked them like, how did they reach those organizations, and if it was easy for them or if it was hard for them to get into those organizations. But they don't have a very good connections now. So this is remaining a big question in the air for the moment. And then also Mark was talking about the box, and that's how we got to the Cirque du Soleil topic, which is like mainly came up because it's very important, I think, for all of us to use all those materials which were already collected earlier in the circus world. So, and then the collection what Cirque du Monde had is quite an important collection of tutorials and different circus materials. So I'm just encouraging all of you to go through these different materials. I think there is a lot what the circus community is already gathered and use it further studies, and also for showing to other people that circus is really beneficial and it's a great thing. That's my conclusion. And my conclusion is also that we were 45 minutes in the breaking room, and I thought it felt like about 15. And yeah, the last time was like really hard because we were just starting to talk in the breaking rooms, and then we were kicked out already. So I think this breaking room is just a great way to have like a talk in between us.
Mm-hmm. I just want to add, because I think, I don't know if everyone was in the room when we talked about this. So the link I posted, in case this is not visible to everyone, I just posted again. This is just the Social Circus training book from Cirque du Mont. And because Veronika said, go out and check all the resources. The problem is the resource is not longer available, at least not to my knowledge. And I have a backup copy from the whole, I don't know how many gigabyte it was. And we talked a little bit about if we maybe can host this on some space from Veronika. So in case we do this, I would honestly try to contact Cirque du Mont about it if it's okay, or if there's some legal issues involved with this. But if we just do it like privately, I think this could also just work. So I will try to figure this out with Veronika, that the whole database that was there gets hosted again somewhere and at least can be shared privately. So yeah.
Go, Jamie.
So this is a question I don't really want an answer to. It's just a question I'd like to sort of leave us all on, because I think Veronika's way of doing everything is right, is training people that aren't necessarily circus trainers, and training people in the OT world, and training them to use the skills that we've sort of developed together to benefit other people's lives. I just want people to consider, at what point does this, providing this training to other people, make our own jobs and positions redundant? Now, there is no right or wrong answer to this. It's just something I'd like people to consider. And I'd be really interested to reflect upon this after some time with you all.
Yeah, I've reflected on that a lot in my process, in my journey, for sure. I've found that it's not an issue, and that it's impossible for us to become redundant because of the skill level and the philosophy that's involved. Like, if I could train clinical people as well as I could train circus people, it would be a much different world. But the reality is, their backgrounds and their skill sets, they can integrate our materials, but they cannot deliver it to the quality that we do. They don't have the expertise or knowledge of our equipment that we use, our methodologies. All it does is open the door wider, because they, like in what I saw in Budapest, we got them doing it in, and they're like, okay, this is great, we love it, the kids love it, but you guys are doing it way better than us, and we want that quality. So I think if it does anything in training these clinical people, it expands our market. It makes more desire for our product. Yes. And it allows them to use some circus, but they can never do what we do.
There's also another point. I really like this discussion. There's another point to it. We as, let's call this social circus people, we basically have our whole time, not really, but let's say we spend a lot of time in developing new things. So like testing out things, developing new things, testing out concepts and developing on them. And this is something that a person who just uses these skills in her own work is never going to do, because they have their own work. So it will never get redundant to be like a circus, social circus professional, because you always have these kind of things you can develop on. So.
And there's a group in the middle that do end up like really diving into it and being able, like a small group of clinical people, but they usually tend to be on the edge more. And those are rare, but when we find them, they're gems because they open up more market for us as well. They open up their own markets, but they're not able to continue to service the rest of the market. So whenever we make, and the clinical industry is so huge, it's endless. You know, if we can inspire one clinical group to really practice circus and integrate it, all it does is create more marketing and promotion and demand for us.
And there's another thing I want to add, because I'm a supercomputer nerd, and I'm really a long-time developer, so I'm really into things like Blender and stuff and the open source community. And this is a question that is in open source community right from the beginning. If we do everything open source, in the end, is it harming us in professional way? So is it getting the jobs away from us or something like this? And what really proved itself over dozens of years is this is not going to happen. So for example, Blender, it's like a 3D suite thing. It's open source from the beginning, and always people ask themselves, like, how can they sustain this? And the thing is, this is a thriving company. They do basically everything they release for free, and they basically sell their service. So they sell, if you have questions, if you want to learn from an expert, this is the stuff they sell. And this concept works really, really well. So open sourcing everything and just providing the expertise and the trainings and the stuff, this is a very valid business concept for sure.
That's exactly the model that I've used, right? I've opened, I shared, and I sell my expertise as the service.
Yeah, and also I would like to contribute to that, because at all of these trainings, I'm using loads of like exercises and questions when they are reflecting on the material. So I get like a huge impact from them in like with all that specifications they can make. So whenever there is a training I provide, and actually they pay for that, I'm really learning a lot of new stuff, and I get a lot of new impact. And also because I understand much more my material, and I can really connect it on very different other ways as well. So I don't know, for me, it was a huge impact to work with this kind of people who has like a better knowledge on the professional side itself of functional juggling as a neuroscience, as a motor science, or all that kind of part of it. So it's a good way of learning.
Yeah, I think this conversation is much bigger and it can continue. We've been going for more than 2 hours. So I'd like to wrap up, say thank you for everyone for coming. I hope to see some of you there on the final week. The last week is the January 18th for the English speaking. Next week will be Spanish. All the presentations will be made in Spanish. If you have a translator in the room with you, it could be, you could attend, but like Ben Degus said, we're going to work on the translations of the transcript afterwards, just so everyone can be aware of what's happening here in South America. And otherwise, if you're not a Spanish speaker, then we'll see you on January 18th, where Elga from Belgium will be presenting her projects. I think Adam from Circo in Czech Republic, they've been working inclusively for a long time. And who was the other one? There's one more, Polina from Poland. And I hope we do more of these in the future. I've gotten a lot of inspiration from this. I've realized there's a lot of value. So maybe in the future, I might start doing like a monthly meeting, just a regular monthly meeting for people to come and chat and share these ideas. Because this is quite a new thing that's happening, this concept of inclusion in circus, but it's exploding, and we're discovering that there's so many people around the world who already had this curiosity and maybe have developed it to certain levels on their own. And then when we come together, it's just an explosion. So that's the goal for 2023, more networking, more collaboration. I'll be arriving in the UK in February. I'm already talking to Mark about going there in April. I want to go to Spain in April as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys in 2023. See you soon. Veronika, do you want to say the final thank yous for Erasmus Plus and all the partners?
Yeah, thank you for all of you to be here, and we wait for you back the next week and the week after at the Inclusive Juggling Symposium. Have a great week and do lots of juggling.
Yeah, thank you very much for today.
Thanks. Thank you so much, everyone.
Guys,
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
bye.
Big love.